So in this video I want to invite you to take some little test or game, because I'm going to play a couple of sounds for you and they will be created either with my Vermona Perfourmer synthesizer or with Ableton Live's Analog synthesizer plugin. And there's always so much talk about analog versus digital, and I think sometimes it's just more fun to just try things for yourself and see in such a test scenario what you would pick if you wouldn't know which is what. You're always going to hear the same melody twice, so once from the Vermona and once from the Ableton synth. And I don't want to talk much because it's actually the purpose of this video that you're mostly going to listen to music instead of me talking. But after playing those examples, I also will share just some additional thoughts with you. Apart from that, I wish you fun with those examples and I'll see you later. So I hope you enjoyed this little game, and I'm super curious to hear what you think about those examples. Like, were you right, or did you actually like something more, or were there just some things that were particularly interesting to you? I'd really like to know, so be warmly invited to share everything that you think or all thoughts that you have in the comments. I always find those blindfold tests really interesting, but at the same time you have to be careful, because this is totally out of context. You're listening to those sounds isolated and they're not in relation to anything, so not to a song, not to a composition. And that could totally change the character of a sound. Nevertheless, I also found it really interesting because I never did this direct comparison, and it showed me a couple of things that I found particularly interesting. So for example, I realized how well-rounded the low end of the Perfourmer is, and it always sounds extremely fine and well articulated, while at the same time it also has some super beautiful low sub-bass part. I mean, I also realized in my performance videos that sometimes I have to cut something off because it's just too fat, but in comparison with the synthesizer plugin, I just found it really interesting how nice the bass sounds. Also, I realized that at the Ableton plugin I wasn't able to get this nice distortion that, for example, I got on the fourth example of the Perfourmer. I think also because the LFO can be faster at the Perfourmer, but yeah, I wasn't able to get this at the Ableton Synth, not nearly, and I realized that this is also some very particular sound characteristics of the Perfourmer. Nevertheless, I think you can make great sound with both the plugin and the hardware synth. If you're thinking about buying some hardware synthesizer, I think you need to have some good reason, because just for the sake of it, it's kind of expensive. And if you just have something as hardware that you can have in exactly the same way as a plugin, I would think twice all the time, because I would rather then find some device that also, as the hardware synth, has something that a plugin doesn't offer. And for example, with the Perfourmer, that's the case, because it has different play modes and very unique ways of interpreting music that would be really difficult for me, if not impossible, to recreate within some DAW-based concept. And this way it really helps me to come up with ideas, so it's basically like some additional musician I'm working with if I'm creating with the Perfourmer. And also, yes, it's just way more fun to play around with some actual knobs on the device itself. And also the Perfourmer has some specifically nice knobs in my opinion, and it's just no comparison to like a MIDI controller that you would map to, for example, this analog synth of Ableton. And I generally have a problem of just appreciating MIDI controllers just as much as instruments that produce sound like the Perfourmer, and I will always just prefer to have something that creates a sound. But I like to have just one device I'm really happy with, and I know that it brings some additional features to my studio instead of just being the same sound I have on my computer just as some hardware version. But at the same time, I really like to just explore sounds on the computer also if I'm not at home and just want to spend some time exploring some plugin. It's really great that you can always do that, and I particularly like doing it with the Arturia collection, for example, because this way I get some idea of all those classic synthesizers. And especially if you don't have like a crazy amount of money to spend on gear all the time, it's just really cool that you sometimes say, okay, there's this one device I really connect to, so I'm gonna get it and I'm really going to get into it. And also to have just a nice variety of other things on your computer and then just make a cool mixture of all of this. And yeah, if you're interested in seeing some more videos with the Perfourmer, I'm going to link a playlist here with a couple of performances so you can see it in action. Another playlist will be here with some tutorials on how to create sounds with the Ableton Live synthesizers. And apart from that, I wish you inspiration with whatever it is that you create and hope to see you soon again at this channel. Bye!